Hello and welcome. This is Rooflemonger, and my friends, let's talk fighting game characters because they're an incredibly silly bunch. We have swords that possess people to make them do horrible things. We have pop bands entering fighting tournaments to get revenge on other bands. We have the exact same pop band. Turns out they are heralds of a banished evil god and will resurrect him into the real world. And then we have Go Tanks. They put him in a fighting game. Gross. For today, my friends, we will be talking about Ino from Guilty Gear. So Ino is a guitar witch, a rock and roll witch, whatever you want to put it. She's a witch and she's got a big old guitar. In the upcoming Guilty Gear Strive, she'll be rocking a new look, but still all the fundamentals are there. So just who is Ino anyways? Well, as we mentioned, she is a rock and roll witch. She fights with guitar and music instead of Eye of Newt and Black Cats. She is also one of the bosses of the series. So the entire X2 line of the game, she was the main boss, the main antagonist. So just like Street Fighter 2 M. Bison was the boss, Guilty Gear X2, Ino was the boss. And to put it in the most possible succinct way, Ino personality-wise is an asshole. There's no way to mince words about it, that's just how it is. If Ino can mess with you, she will mess with you, that's just her nature, I guess. Ino is definitely like the femme fatale sex appeal character. Everything she does, from her looks to her actions to even the words she says in wind quotes, they're all pretty provocative. Things like telling Kai Kist, a little bit more experience and he might last a little bit longer, to, well, stuff like this. One of her moves is called Stroke the Big Tree. Certainly evokes certain thoughts, right? And I know what you're thinking, and get your mind out of the gutter. She's just tuning her guitar. So she's definitely that kind of character. But that said, she's also maybe an unwilling hero. Ino is a time traveler, and she's a time traveler who has seen the bad ending. And she knows how things are gonna go. And she's gone back in times as many times as it takes, and she's not done yet, to make sure to avoid the dull and gray world the future has to hold for her. And maybe while fixing the world, she can kind of mess up Soul Bad Guy because she really, really hates him. So before we hit the lore portion pretty heavy here, what kind of character is Ino in the games, right? Because as we all know, lore is the most important part of any fighting game, but sometimes we gotta have some of the gameplay too, right? And in the games, Ino traditionally is a rushdown / mix-up heavy style character. She also has very unique movement for the game here, as instead of running, she kind of glides through the air, using her guitar instead of a witch broom, right? So she'll fly like this instead of a usual run. The guitar certainly is not for show, as she'll just simply beat your head in with it and use it like a club. On top of that, hey, you can actually play the instrument, and she can shoot notes out from the guitar as well. Or heck, just walk up close, unstring the guitar, and just throttle you with it. Ino's witch hat is also a deadly weapon, as it has a big old speaker inside of it, and that speaker can shoot out giant, deadly musical notes that she can use to help her pressure on a rushdown, because she can run behind them. She can also turn the hat into a giant old amp that will launch you right up into the air with a big musical blast. That Stroke the Big Tree move we talked about earlier, well, she's unlocking the power of the Winamp Equalizer, as she will pierce you with a big old sound spike. Ino is the heavy metal witch, and make no mistake, she will use the power of rock and roll to rock you to death, because that is what she is all about. Basically anything musical, anything you can do with a guitar, she'll just use that to cave your skull in, because that is the kind of person Ino is. So now that we talked about some of the gameplay, what about the lore of Ino? What does the game have to say about Ino? Well, okay, her name's Ino, great. Oh, 165 centimeters in height. What about some of the more pertinent details, right? Let's see here. That's not very helpful, is it? Unknown, unknown, unknown. Well, how strong is he? Oh, risk rating of S. So hey, she's pretty strong. So in a lot of ways, the story of Ino is definitely tied in with the story of that man. And who is that man? Well, that's a video in and of itself, but suffice to say, very long story short, He's kind of the reason everything bad has happened in the Guilty Gear universe. And in a lot of ways, he's just trying to undo some of what he's done. And where Ino comes into this is she is one of that man's chief helpers. Now, her level of help is kind of disruptive, I guess that's the easiest way to put it, because as we talked about earlier, she really, really hates Soul Bad Guy and will do anything she can to screw with him, basically. And a lot of what she does as the boss of the X2 series under that man's orders is like from the level of just straight thuggery, attacking people, to like petty tricks, sending people on wild goose chases like Bridget and Jam. Like, it is all part of that man's greater plan, sure, but like it is through the weirdest means necessary. Given in the X2 and Accent Core games, the story modes all have multiple paths. There is a lot of non-canon interactions, but suffice to say, Ino is just there to mess with everybody. There's no real grander scheme than that. She is there to mess around with you and bully you. That said, a lot of the messing around and bullying basically gets people where they need to be, so Ino might do it in a really weird roundabout way, but it is in the end serving that man's purposes. That said, in the X2 series, a lot of the potential routes have Ino going way too out of control, and she kind of has to be reined back in. Their relationship is kind of a two-edged sword, because that man calls the shots, but Ino's there specifically because that man is the only one that can stop the dark future she sees, because once again, she is a time traveler. And as far as she can see it, the only way out of the bad ending for everybody is working with that man. A note on the time travel itself. So she's interacted with everyone basically 1,000 times over. She knows a lot about a lot of the cast, although a lot of the cast obviously does not know too much about her. In the end, her ultimate goal, no matter how she gets about it, even if she does it in probably not the best way, being very rude and antagonistic to everyone, is to avoid that bad ending. A lot of her stages are Babylon in the future, because she's taking you to the future to see just how crappy things are. In some of the lore, as it were, outside of the game, things like drama CDs, she's even like a retcon force in that things wouldn't have happened at all in the direct game plot without her directly interfering in events where certain main plot characters died and they only exist now in the main plot of the game thanks to her messing around with time travel, doing it over and over and over again like Groundhog's Day until she gets things right enough to move on forward. So in a way, she's just a much sexier Bill Murray. But come Guilty Gear Xrd Revelator, it turns out there's a reason she is the way she is. The whole capricious, rotten attitude she has is definitely at odds with trying to save humanity, right? Those two things definitely don't work well together, because she's definitely not the selfless type. So the big reveal comes in that, trying to change history, all that kind of stuff, it may be that her will is not necessarily her own, and she's not exactly the person she thought she was. Basically, Ino, what she is a glitch in the system. She is not something that is supposed to be here. She is not her own person. During the Crusades, this is going back like even before the original first Guilty Gear game where a lot of bad stuff was happening, things was bad for just humanity all across the board. The desire for a brighter tomorrow was so strong that it basically created Ino. In the backyard, which is basically like a place between places where a lot of the magic and all that stuff in the Guilty Gear world works here, those thoughts coalesce there, and the backyard's like, no, this shouldn't be here, and we're going to get rid of it and dump it into the world, and that became Ino. And now we know why Ino fights so hard for a better future despite being kind of a bad person, is she is collectively the will of humanity for a better future. And she, as a time traveler, knows what the bad ending looks like, and effectively she is the psychic will of the human race to make sure we have a better tomorrow. Ino does not handle this news too well. And when you tell an unstable, sadistic psychopath that they're a cosmically ordained good guy, she kind of starts realizing that her friends aren't her friends, and that man who worked with her for so long didn't actually give a crap about her necessarily, but he knew what she was all this time and just basically wanted to keep her under his wing. Perhaps it was done with the best of intentions, but maybe she's not handling that the best. As when we leave Ino here, just, the face she's making here doesn't suggest maybe the best for everybody in the future. And my friends, that is the ridiculous history of Ino from Guilty Gear. So that is where her story stops for now. Although as of the time of making this video, the launch of Guilty Gear Strive is about a month and change away. And of course, Ino is a playable character in that game. What does the story have for her? Well, she might be going off the deep end this time around. We'll have to wait because it opens with, "Any of you think you can stop me?" And that's not a good guy thing to say, is it? But yeah, she's rocking her new look. She looks like $1,000,000, truly fantastic. Seemingly retaining a lot of her classic gameplay, so she's not going to be having a total rework, although there might be a few new things in there. But yeah, so things are looking good for Ino because, hey, she's going to be appearing in another game, and we'll have to see plot-wise what the story has to hold for her in the future. Now, to cap off here, these kind of videos are more rare for me than the usual style of what I do. So I normally don't ask for this, but hey, if you could like, share, all that kind of stuff, that would be truly and honestly appreciated. And other than that, my friends, I guess we have reached the end of the video. So thank you very much for watching. Hope this video has found you well. And hey, go out and play some Guilty Gear.